Can you hear me a little better? I'm going as loud as I can right now. So, the bottom line is we have an opportunity to do something that's never been done before. We have now social media, which has allowed us to communicate all the bad news around the world, correct? Right. You know, whenever somebody bad happens anywhere. Well, the news is full of bad news because that's what most of the world's thinking about. What we have the opportunity to do is use social media and the news to communicate a new way, the Optavia way.
Yes.
Where people care about their families, they're home for their kids, they're focused on their health, they're helping people look at each other and speak to each other versus text each other, and we're going to change the world that way. And so I really, first of all, I want to tell all of you that are here, because most people would say, it's 100 degrees today. I'm not going to stand outside, especially if I have my travel stuff on. But many of you are here, and that's very, very impressive, because that tells me we have a volunteer army that's ready to do what it takes to change the world. So thank you for coming. What I want to do really is open it up for questions. The kind of questions I want to answer are questions that benefit everybody. So I don't want to know that my hemoglobin A1C is 4.3 and how do I get it down to 4, right? So, anybody have just a really cool question they want to ask? Huh? Name badges. Do I look like I do name badges? You gotta have to find that out from someone else, but yes, they are coming. Yes. You guys have to be really, okay, this is where, like the conductor, I'm gonna have to go like this and everybody has to be quiet, or there's no way I'll hear the question and no way you'll hear the answer. All right? Go. That's a great question. She said, what steps would you take to get up over the concepts or hang-ups in your brain? Is that a good question? Yeah. It's a question everybody asks themselves pretty much every day. What is that?
More people coming to listen. Don't let me stop.
So let me just say this to you. I want to be really clear on this. This is going to be a very big eye-opener for you. Our brain is designed to protect us from bad things. It was designed a long time ago to react automatically when it senses danger. You have this thing called your ego that sits in there that thinks that anything that threatens you, anything that someone else says, is a bad thing. So it automatically is going to think, like, you know, when you get a text from somebody or an email, and you don't see them, you only get a little bit. And what you do is you get all pissed off, and you're like mad at them, and then 12 hours later, or 3 years later, you see them and say, what happened to you? Well, I was really mad because you wrote that. And they said, what? I was asking you out to dinner. So the point is that without context, most things we find out that go into our brain, we only take a limited amount of information. The point being is that communication, like right now is a great example of it, is 7% what you say, 38% basically my tone, and 55% my body language. Okay? So in a text or an email, you're only getting 7% of the information that the person is communicating to you. Does that make sense? Yeah. So the first thing you have to do, you might have heard of this before, you need to stop, challenge why you're feeling that way, and then choose to not be so certain, but go into inquiry. In other words, don't be so certain that the person just said something bad to you. Actually assume that they're just communicating. Before you respond, test your assumptions always with your relationships so that now you know the real facts. Does that make sense? So that's for dealing with other people. For yourself, you know, I wrote a book recently about that, right? And in that book, we talk about this. What we think about ourselves, what we believe about ourselves, almost always is not accurate. It's not accurate. It's actually this story we made up in our brain. And what happens is, once you have the story is, I'm shy, I'm weak, whatever it is, then your ego wants to protect that story, so it's going to keep you in that loop. The way to get out of that, start focusing on what you want. What are the things that are important to you? So for you guys, I would think what would be important right now is that Optavia, that jet may have Optavia on it in a couple of years, right? In fact, you may not even need planes because we're so good at it and we're channeling so good, we can just move by teletransportation from one place to the other, right? Can you even hear me back there? You can? Oh, good. Because that was supposed to be funny. I get... Anyway, the most important thing is stop worrying about what you think about yourself. It has no place in building the life you want for yourself. It really doesn't. It actually is destructive to your progress because your brain and your mind do not want change. They want to stay the same. They don't like change. Optavia change is good change, but it's still difficult for the mind. So that's why we have partners, why you have a mentor. That's why you have the community. That's why you have tools. That's why you have the Habits of Health system. They're to help you in baby steps start to make those little micro habit change. So what I would suggest, that's a great question, if you're worried about what you're thinking up here, every time you hear that dialogue, stop, take a nice centering breath, and go back to say, what I'm going to do next, is it going to take me towards what I want in my life or not? And if it's taking you any way this way, and this is particularly important when you lay down on your pillow and start beating the hell out of yourself, right? And then you get into a cycle, and then the cycle doesn't let you sleep, and then you get up in the morning and you're tired, so you have low willpower, so then you run to Dunkin' Donuts on the way to work, and now you've got caffeine, sugar, and in about an hour you go high for a minute and then you go low, and you just messed yourself up for the whole day, right? So the key thing is protect your brain by sleeping. Get the sleep you need. You need at least 7 hours of sleep. That should never be negotiable. You know, obviously this week, there's some, you know, we have to make some, but in general, you have 360 other days, and in those days, set a time, count back from when you know you have to get up. Make sure you set the time when you're going to start your ritual, and your ritual should be, let's say you want to get 8 hours of sleep, you got to get up at 7, so you got to be in bed, face on the pillow, downtime at basically 11 o'clock, right? So at 10:30, it's called the digital sunset. Everything needs to go off. You need to let your brain start to slow down. Take a hot bath. It warms you up. Make sure your room is cool. Make sure it's dark. Make sure all those little LEDs, you put tape on them so you don't see any light. No light. Any even blue light will basically mess up your pineal gland and you won't sleep well. And then take some deep breaths, lay down, and go to sleep. Do it every day. Do it 7 days a week. Do it during the weekend too. You set that time and stay to it, your body will start coming around. And I will tell you, that one thing will change everything, because how your brain functions is very dependent on whether it reprograms itself and defrags at night. So when you wake up and you start your day, the keystone to your day should be making sure when you get up, I'll get to you just 1 minute, you have at least 7 hours of sleep. And then when you get up, do something that becomes your daily routine to look at the day from a very positive note. I'm going to accomplish these 3 things today. I'm going to make sure, things as simple as, I'm going to make sure I take care of these 3 tasks. I'm going to make sure I make those 3 client calls. I'm going to make sure I talk to my 1 new coach. I'm going to make sure I hug my wife or my husband and tell them I love them. Make sure I spend time when my kids come home to basically be there. All those things set you on a course. The way your day starts, that's why if you look at the Optavia, when we designed the you can't teach that kind of fun. 24 hours that it starts with the first radiance. The radiance start at 7 a.m. or whenever you get up, and that sets the stage for the rest of those to optimize your day. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay, resistant to what? Mentoring.
How do you reawaken an old coach?
A coach or a client? Coach. So the first thing I would do, don't go home and throw up on them. That's the first thing. Oh, so great. Oh, yeah. The question was, what do you do with a coach that isn't accepting mentoring? What? Oh, there we go. We got it. Yeah. Did everybody got it?
Well, he said also, what do you do with
Oh, we gave one? Okay. Okay, so the question is actually bigger. The question is, when do you stop mentoring? When do you just move on? If they're not interested, how will you know if they're not interested? If they're not returning your calls. If you ask them to do something and they're not doing it. They basically hide from you and they run in the other direction when they see you. Those are probably pretty good signs, right? In fact, I'll tell you, did anybody see the man with two brains? The man with two brains, what's his name? White hair? Steve Martin. His wife dies and he lives in her mansion, and Kathleen Turner is a vamp that wants to steal all his money, right? So she's making the moves on him, and he goes into his big mansion, and there's a 3-story picture of his wife, and he goes, Elizabeth, tell me if there's any sign, just any sign, that you don't want me to marry Catherine. And all of a sudden, the room starts raining, the ceilings start cracking, the picture starts spinning around, and he goes, thank you, I knew you'd understand. And that's how some of you guys are with your clients and your coaches. If they're not interested, what do? You don't? Okay. Aim to stay means you awaken their desire and their motivation to move forward in their health or their life, right? Whether it's their business or their health. If they're not there, why would you go to the strategies, the tactics, the actions, and spend time? The why is you. Why would you spend time with them if they're not ready? There are 311 million Americans. I will tell you the other part. If they're not ready, you cannot help them, because sustainable change requires the person that's undergoing the habit transformation to actually do the things on a daily basis. You cannot do it for them. And I know you guys, some of you, see somebody that's overweight or obese, and you really want to help them. If you really want to help them, be sensitive, be aware. The Optavia way is you are fully aware of where they are. Ask lots of questions. Don't do it with certainty. Don't make assumptions, but inquiry. Be curious about them. Find out more about them, and over time, they will tell you. Some of them will be ready. They're in the looking zone, and they're ready right now. Some of them aren't going to be ready for many years. And the same thing is, just because you have a coach and they signed up, that does not mean they're not ready. They may not be ready. So I would say on the front end, moving forward, make sure when you're with clients and candidates that you actually find out whether they're ready, right? Does that make sense?
Right.
Yes.
Okay. My question is, I have a client who I suspect is a sketch. And
Who that?
yes, and I believe that his problems went far beyond just the dietary author of this program. How do we deal with that?
Okay, so this is a really good question. I didn't address this in the first version of the Habits of Health, and I am going to talk about it in the new version. And that is this. Food, he's asking about what about someone that's a food addict, right? A food addict, usually a food addict is actually a sugar and carb addict because addiction is caused by chemicals and sugar is a drug. It's just like cocaine in its natural form as the coca beans. The people, the native people in South America, they eat that daily and they're not addicted. They use it as a mild stimulant like some people use coffee. But when you distill it down into the white powder, then it becomes a drug, right? And it lights up the nuclear acumens in the brain and you get addicted very rapidly. The same thing when you take natural sugar cane or beets and you distill it down into that white powder, you're making a drug. It's a drug and it lights up the brain just like cocaine does or heroin. So you have to know in a group of people, by the way, some people can drink alcohol their whole life and never become addicted to it. Some people that are alcoholics can't take another drink. If they take another drink, boom, they're right back. The same thing applies, and it's usually the rule of thirds. A third of people can use sugar, and not that you should do it. You shouldn't use sugar or refined flours at all. But 1/3 doesn't bother them at all. The second third, it bothers them some. The third that has high susceptibility, they cannot use sugar or refined flours, things like that. When they do that, they immediately light up their brain and they go down that path to addiction, right? So one of the things I'm doing in the next version is we're going to do a little quiz for them. People that have high sugar or flour addiction, they have to be very careful and they should stay away or it's going to be hard for them. So the whole idea in the journey to optimal health and healthy eating is on the front end we use the fuelings to get people started, but if they do not learn to eat healthy, as they come off the fuelings and they start using the fuelings of being on program, off program, they will fail. They will fail, and many of you maybe have experienced that yourself. So the key thing is that you have to decide that I'm going to learn to eat healthy. The more healthy whole food you eat, the healthier you're going to be long term, the easier it is to maintain and actually optimize your healthy weight. So what I'm saying by that is in the micro habits of health, right now one thing, most of you are on our optimal health plan and you're not in fat burning right now. When you're in fat burning, you can't use fruit. We all know that, right? But once you're moving forward to optimal health, fruit is amazing. Actually, the studies show that fruit, now don't get confused, because in our program, we're turning on fat burning while you're in the 5 and 1, right? So during that period, you can't use fruit because it has sugar, and the body will always go to the path that's easiest, and it'll burn that. It'll take you right out of fat burning. But once you're eating a regular, regular healthy day, you want to eat a lot of fruit. It tastes good. It does have some sugar, some fructose in it, but unlike sugar, it's in its natural construct. It has lots of water. It has fiber, and it's got lots of antioxidants, so it's a really good thing. So you can think about, okay, going home, if you're not in the fat burn, eat an extra piece. Decide for a micro habit, I'm going to eat one extra piece of fruit every day. And then make it available so it's out on your counters, it's available, so you can just grab it and do it. By the way, the app will have a way for you to put that stuff in that will remind you if by the end of the day you haven't actually done it. So,
Are there any technologies that are helpful in terms of brain health that could assist, moving the brain towards a healthy
he's asking about technologies to help. Actually, we thought that we could improve cognition using like games. Thank you. Thank you, doctor. We could use feedback loops, and that we could improve brain health. But actually, just getting out and interacting people, the new study shows just as effective. What we want to do in Optavia, every time you think about adding something new, the answer is don't. We want to make it so simple that people can see they can do this, they can get healthy, and they can build this business. So no, not right now, yeah. Hi.
I'll
I'll decide that.
Ask her how much weight she is.
trying to figure out how to help the clients that I have, and also I guess myself, getting used to what I guess we would consider the good life, like the getting used to when things are going well. Because the no's, I've found for myself in the past, it's getting a lot easier for me. The no's are kind of easy for me to accept because it doesn't change anything. That's what I'm trying to figure out. It's basically you still live the same life you've been living, so you don't have to make any change. But yeses mean that something has to change. Something is happening that you have to, once you get yes from, say, 10 clients, then you adjust your schedule. You decide whether or not you're staying at your job. You make another decision about your life. So it's like, how do you get this?
That's a great question.
Really,
So what she asked there, did you guys hear that?
Just repeat it.
Who repeated?
You.
I repeated.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I was gonna have you repeat it.
Okay, it was long, so I missed 5 minutes.
Okay. Just because I'm trying to protect what's left of my voice. But. Okay, what she said was, she asked about the good life, getting used to the good life. In other words, as people start saying yes, as things get better, making that adjustment. And thank you for that. Because inside, can I be fully transparent with you? And I have permission? Thank you. Thank you. So she says she trusts me. By the way, never give people your opinion unless they want it. So always ask permission for your coaches. Just because you see what they want to do, remember the ego is always there.
Yep.
And if you tell somebody to do something, to say, hey, you need to do this, that's not your job.
Yep.
Your job is to awaken people, to take and love on them, and bring them along at their own path. So what I heard you saying is that for you personally, because it starts with you, right? You cannot be helpful till you start figuring this stuff out as well. You can't just do good for others and suffer inside. So what she's saying is she doesn't think she's worthy. You don't think you're worthy. You're absolutely worthy, first of all. In a minute, I'm going to go over and give you a hug. Just so you know, look, or you might have to work over here.
Ask her how much weight she is.
Yeah, I'm going to go there. So thank you, JC. That was the next question. So tell me, how much weight did you lose? So this may be, what I'm going to say now, may be the most important reason why you guys are frying out there. This is the moment that really you've all been waiting for, okay? All you guys out there that are getting cooked right now, and you're burning up, first of all, thank you. Make sure you're drinking water. So she asked about the good life, about feeling, and she's lost 167 pounds. Oh my goodness, I don't even recognize her. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. When did I talk to you?
Oh man, oh my God.
2 years ago in Annapolis, she came down to Annapolis, and oh my goodness, a transformation. Okay, now, here's the thing. Our brain, our body likes to be in balance, okay? 150 plus pounds ago, her body thought it was in balance. How long were you like that?
Oh, like 5, 6 years ago, I was like that, but I mean, I got in the program almost,
Okay, so basically, growing up.
oh, a long time, oh yeah.
So growing up, she was a big kid. Adult, big. And with that comes a whole world of things of how the brain copes with that. Denial, isolation, being away from her friends, being away from people. Everything in her world. And what she's done is she's unzipped and the beautiful Sonia has come out. And all of a sudden that Sonia is exposed to the world that she's not used to. She's in a world where she's convinced herself that she's not worthy. And so now things are going well and it's scaring the crap out of her. And this is the part, by the way, where you as coaches, us as a community, this is how we change people's lives. Is that for me or her? This is how we change people's lives. So understand that just because the physical transformation took, because we do such a great job, right? The mental, changing all the areas, the relational part takes time. And that's where we as coaches, I want to make it so that the Habits of Health system is so self-instructionary that any client can do that part on their own, so you guys can focus on heart to heart, helping them on the journey to optimal well-being, right?
Yes.
This is where we make the difference. And nobody even knows what we're talking about. So that you know that that's what we do, that's what you leave here and go out and do.
Right.
You don't do it, you don't say it like I said it, because remember when we were talking about being Optavia? That sense of being is something that develops over time. And it's by multiple exposures to you, to the community, because people don't actually believe, if you can't make up. I mean, how many people that come to a conference, if they find out some nutty doctor is going to talk to them, that they're going to go stand outside in 120 degrees and listen to them? That doesn't happen in the other world. But because they know the juice isn't worth the squeeze. Here the juice is worth the squeeze. So the point I'm making is you have inside of you, start posturing yourself that you are an Optavian and you have the goods. As a friend of mine said a long time ago, you have the goods. You don't have to throw up, drench them, fire hose them. You simply have to know that sooner or later you're going to get them. My grandfather was a policeman in New York City for 55 years. And he said in those 55 years, and he was in through the Depression, through some tough times, he said, I only shot my gun twice. You know why? He said, and I shot it in the air. He said, because that person that basically was robbing, was it worth me killing them? They will do that behavior, and they will do that behavior again. We'll catch him eventually, right? Bad guys always get caught, right? So people that want this will always get them. Just don't be in such a hurry.
Right.
You're not always going to get them when you want to get them, but love on them, and over time, this will happen.
Yeah.
Yes, Miriam.
I would love for you to answer this question that people feel that are brand new clients, beginner health coaches, or the clients that are about to turn into health coaches, not the seasoned ones, who are not as savvy with relationship building and are coming out of this conference with their fear, and everybody's going to go, what's that unpack? So if you can just address that,
Okay.
so that I'm not dominating the area.
This is a great question. Miriam's always. Huh? You do.
No, I was repeating for you.
So the question that Miriam asked is, coming out of conference, how do we start conversations? How do we get the word out about Optavia? Some of us have a hat on. There's this beautiful symbol on our shirt or on our hat. We walk here, we get on the plane, we're excited. Like I said, we get on the plane, we're excited.
Nice problem. Nice problem.
And what do we do? What do we start saying? Where do we start? How do we start these simple conversations?
Okay. Did anybody see Moana? Yes. That little crab down that's shiny? Okay, so you're shiny now. And by the way, that's a great question, and Doug repeated it. More people are going to be interested. We look shiny. The question is, are you going to be shiny? And how you're shiny is you are going to be like a sponge, and when someone says, what is that? You can say, it is a community of people that are focused on improving their lives. You don't need to say anything more. As soon as you turn around and start going into a pitch, and we have feelings and we have the habits of health, you just blew it, okay? Create a little interest, and I got to tell you, ladies, What rings and what what
It's American.
what it's American. It's an American Airlines. What rings and what jewelry do they put in the front in the window cases at jewelry store? Shiny, right? And what does it do? It brings you in. It draws you in. Yeah, I know I can't afford it, but maybe I get in there. Then the salesperson, you just raise your hand that I'm interested, right? The salesperson is a master at telling you today, only today, that this one piece has got a great deal. Because we just happen to have the blah, 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 right? You have the shininess now. Your job, especially as brand new health coaches, is to create a little bit of interest, and then as soon as you can, use your business coach to help you, right? Don't, especially in the beginning, don't spend a lot of time, and certainly don't go into pitch mode. Remember, we're not selling or telling, we're sharing and caring, right? Does that make sense? So, the best. Oh, give a story. Okay, just 1 second. Let me finish the plane and the rest of this one, and then you can tell your story. So, the best thing you can do is remember, just like I said, my grandfather said he'd always get the criminal. If you sit there and you posture yourself that what you have is great, ask some questions and listen. So we have the map, right? We use for moving on to from senior coach on to into ED, blended path ED, and then Fibbit. There's another map, and some of you may have heard it. It's about how we show up to people. So the map is, first thing, the M, move from what you want to say, because now someone's asked you about especially when you get started. You've seen the logo, they asked you about it. What do you want to do? You want to start what? Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, someone that had just a very innocent curiosity and a symbol, you just threw up on them, right? And they're going to run, say, oh, I have to catch my plane. Boom, and they're out of here. What you want to do is move from here, take a deep breath, and really start listening to what they're saying. And then they'll tell you in that conversation what to say next. The second thing, while you're listening, the A is appreciate. Appreciate them. Appreciate them as a human. Look at them, explore them. Look at their, like for me, I got a chance to meet many of you. Would you say that all you that I met personally for the first time, was I fully present for you?
Yeah.
Now, with 4,000 people trying to run through and take care of obligations, that's pretty tough to do. So what I'm saying is, once you realize that this is not about you, and you're actually helping other people, you appreciate them as a human. And as soon as you do that, they'll open up. The third of map is P. That means you then play it back so that they hear that you really understood them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
If they really see that you understand them, they're going to go, wow, Optavia, this is somebody that's an Optavia. Man, I like this person.
Yep.
I want to learn more. Does that make sense? That's how we change the world.
Can I say something to
Yeah,
that?
go.
So one of the other key things, the best thing that you can do today, especially getting on that airplane, is starting new conversations. And something that you can remember, be intentional in starting relationships and just starting conversations with no agenda. To Dr. A's point, we're not trying to close anybody today. In fact, that's weird. It's kind of gross. Why not plant a seed? Be a light for health today. And the other thing you can do is be savvy with this phone. Who's here's on Facebook? And the rest of you, today you are signing up and you're going to get an account. Now, if your greatest desire is to really grow and really get the word out, okay? But the next thing you can do is do your best to start 3 new conversations today. That could be on the airplane. That could be with someone that you haven't seen since college and you were thinking of them the entire weekend and you're like, man, how do I reach out to them? You shoot them a Facebook message today at the airport while you're waiting for your plane and say, Joe, gosh, I haven't seen you in a couple years. How are you? starting a conversation and just have a normal conversation, just like if I was to meet you at the water park here right now, I wouldn't walk up and say, hey Joe, hey, I just got back from this conference, and and you would not do that in person. And so just go back and forth, and if you're starting conversations when you're on the airplane, it's so easy, and you do that 3 times a day. 3 different conversations a day. How many conversations is that in a month? You've just planted the seed for 90 people to get healthy, that over time, they're going to eventually see you living your health out, because you're going to be talking about your transformation. You're going to be giving a water tip today. I was sitting in the sun, listening to this crazy doctor. I was burning up. Thankfully, I finally learned to drink half my body weight in ounces of water a day. That's helped me maybe lose 20 pounds. And now I stayed hydrated. I didn't get burnt. Little things like that, they will follow
I
you.
have to do a disclosure on that.
Not typical.
64 ounces is the recommended. That's what you have to recommend.
That is true
All right.
when you're on the program, when you're not on the program.
Yeah. Because no, I'm just saying the compliance just changed that. And so we had
We're under compliance.
But I'm staying the next piece. Because somebody will go, ah! Okay, thank you, bud. That was great. So that's the thing. So what Doug just painted there for you. So think of it this way. This new shininess gives you a new opportunity to create more interest, right? But everything Doug said is absolutely critical. You're not there to basically do this. You're there to do this, right? To bring them in. And it may take longer, but there are people that are in the looking zone right now. There's some people that are ready to go. So the second thing you can say to that question is, yeah, it's a health community that I've been part of, and God, it helped me lose 50 pounds, and now I'm learning to be around, hang out with healthy people, and finally I dieted my whole life, and now so you say that matter-of-factly, and then you start talking to them. So it's okay to do a sentence, but when you sit there and you got their attention, and then you tell an hour-and-a-half thing about your progression of your cholesterol, your blood pressure, your release of 17 medicines, they don't care. Be interested, not interesting. It's not about you. It's about them. And that is, what Doug said, using the map, if you spend the time to actually do that, your whole business will change. You'll also know, by the way, when you're dealing with your coaches, even your business coaches and your business leaders, I mean, JC lives in one of the most densely populated places in the world. Just for a minute, JC, tell him how you're gonna take that. As a pro, he's got this down. So basically, tell him how you're gonna take the Optavia symbol when someone asks you about what you do in New York City.
Well, for the first thing I'm going to do is
You gotta work. Hey,
I got it.
You gotta get up. Yeah, you gotta get up to the task, man.
Okay. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm not going to be a pro, right? Somebody said something yesterday from stage, said, don't edit yourself, right? I love that. So what I'm going to do in this most densely populated area, which is really the United States of America, I just happen to live in New York, is this is loud.
I'll translate.
I got it. Here's my question. Whoa. It's my question. Would everybody here agree that this weekend once again brought you in? Right? So would everybody agree that you as health coaches are once again reinvigorated because something happened to you here? Right? So here's what I'm going to do. I've already got my list of people that I'm going to reconnect with. I'm going to go reconnect with all these people that I know. I'm going to reconnect with all the people that said no, the people that said yes and then got lost, the people that, don't even want to hear from me. And all I'm going to do with them is I'm going to let them know what happened to me this weekend. I'm going to let them know what happened inside of me this weekend. You hear over and over again, you hear us talking about I'm not going to make decisions with my brain. I'm going to make decisions with my heart, right? So what's happening in my heart right now is I'm changing. I'm growing up, and I'm realizing that the things that I used to think mattered didn't matter. So I'm going to open up that conversation with people. I'm going to allow people to talk to me about what really matters to them, because I'm gonna be the guy that has that conversation about what really matters. And I'm gonna use this event and this thing that's happening to all of us as a way of opening up conversation, but it's gonna be the conversation that everybody really needs to have, right? And I'm gonna invite people simply. It could be just a crack of a door open, and I might have to walk away and leave that door open, but I'm gonna open that door for people. And everybody wants the same thing. Everybody wants to be happier, healthier, and wealthier, right? They just might not be ready to talk about it. So the only thing I can do is let them know what's really happening in my heart, and let them know how this had an impact on that. And they're all gonna come. They're all gonna come. And it could take 3 years for some of them, but that's fine. That's fine, because would you wait 3 years to feel the way you're feeling right now?
That's it. Okay, who's next? Yes. Well, okay, no. Okay, wait. She's asking, she's going back to the sleep thing, saying that it's very hard. Can you do that in baby steps? Well, let me just talk for a minute about what's going to happen to the habit cell system. What we need to do is lower the resistance, right? Lower the resistance, make it easier to do these micro habits. On average, it takes about 66 days to install a new habit. So what we want to do, you cannot rely on willpower or motivation during that period. We all know that we need to eat healthier, sleep more. Our doctors tell us that all the time. But to actually do that in reality requires a system, and the Habits of Health, as far as installation, that's what I've been working on the last 10 years. So we're about ready to release that technology, and in that technology, what we're doing is lowering what you're doing to the point where you can do it every day. And that's different for every person, right? Some people, they can do all those things, right? They can do it all right away, and they just needed to be educated. Some people are so addicted to watching TV at night, it's really hard to break. So in that case, the first thing you want to find out about your client, what's their kryptonite? What's their kryptonite? What's the one thing that they do that when they do it, it ruins their whole day or their sleep, right? Most people, for sleep, it's that they're doing that. They're digitally connected, and what you don't realize, I'm going to show you how damaging. This is a great thing for communicating your business, but in terms of your relationships, when you're with people, and your brain, it's absolutely atrocious. A study came out last week saying that, let me borrow that pen. If this is anywhere where I can see it, there's a 30% reduction in my cognitive ability. We are stupider. We are stupid. We become more stupid. Do you want to be more stupid? In your relationships, do you want to be stupid? Because I got to tell you, the worst thing Apple did for relationships is make the Apple Watch. Because now you're talking to somebody, it happens to me all the time. I'm talking to somebody and they're going, what? Am I boring?
Right.
You're not interested? We have to be very careful with technology. Technology and sleep are a major issue. So listen, this is a wonderful tool, but it's very important that you separate yourself from the electronic leash. You need to get away. What do you do to get away?
I learned just me practicing the habits of sleep, because in this world, who feels connected to their business of talking to a lot of your clients and coaches? Anybody? So when we're connected through Facebook, Instagram, email, this device, laptops, iPads. So it took me a couple of years, and T and I just started doing this last year. But we finally took this stupid phone and got it out of our bedroom at night. We went to an old-fashioned alarm clock. We just needed to. Okay, until we built that discipline, because we were laying in bed like, no, we're not doing this anymore. And so literally chargers, the whole family, it's kind of cool. The whole family, phones go in the charging station at night. The girl, my oldest daughter, hers goes on at 7 p.m. Ours go on later in the evening, but so we can get it out. So that's just one baby step that we took.
That's good. And just one thing, just one other comment on that. If you have somebody that is really addicted to it, that's when you do what you're talking about. So the cool thing about the other piece is what we call marginal gains, and I talked a little bit about it. But marginal gains means that we look at the other things. So one thing you can do right away that doesn't require habit installation is change that whole environment. Doug took his phone out. If you have a problem with TV, get your TV out. Make sure there's nothing in there that's blue light. Make sure it's quiet. If you can't create quietness, get earplugs. Turn the temperature down to 68 degrees. Make sure you don't use electric blankets. Absolutely a no-no. Do not use an electric blanket. You are adding energy into your body and making it very tough at night for your body to heat regulate. The heat regulation is in your brain. And if your body's trying to adjust and saying, wait a minute, there's 105 degrees coming in, how do I get rid of that energy? Well, you start breathing faster. Basically, you start vasodilating. It's making the body work harder, which keeps the brain awake. So go natural, right? Okay, who else has it? You had a question.
So, since we're talking about brain a lot, so I have a client, just want some tips and advice. 2 weeks into the program, she was doing well, and then on the third week, she tells me that her brain tells her the feelings are desserts. So, how do you...
Her brain says what?
Her brain is telling her on the third week that the feelings are desserts.
Are desserts.
It's not like food. She wants to, get food. She seems to be doing well in the first 2 weeks, but the third week she's saying that her brain cannot connect.
Is she losing weight?
Yeah.
And so she's craving something different?
She feels that the feelings are, her brain is telling, this is the way I'm seeing it in her words. She said, my brain tells me these are desserts.
And I need more?
Yeah, and she feels like she wants to
Eating too many feelings.
She's saying she wants real food.
So, what advice or tips or what do you think is going on with her? Because she tells me she's following everything. So,
Yeah, okay, well, I'll just say a couple things in general. I'd have to talk to her specifically to figure that out. I'm going to let this plane go by. Count the ways. So, the first thing is this, is there are many feelings that are like desserts, right? I don't know, the decadent brownie, right? The bars. The what? Pudding, right? They are like desserts. So the first thing you can do, the easiest thing to do, if she's starting to feel that, have her go more to the salty, more substantial things, right? Have her mash, whatever, the mashed potatoes, the macaroni. I mean, I don't care what it is, oatmeal. Have her change the selection for a while. That's the first thing. Second thing is make sure she's still in a fat-burning state. Okay. The third thing is have her drink more water, because one thing she may be saying is I don't feel full enough. So there's satiety means fullness, and there's many ways you can be full. There's a lot of stuff that's going on in the body. One of it is leptin, which is released from the fat cells. Second is the gastric distension. And one of the things for people that have been eating a lot, in fact, that's why people overeat so much, because they no longer have those normal reflexes, so they wait for them to be stuffed to stop eating. So in that case, she may be starting to get those signals. The best way to break that up is water, celery, lettuce, things that have mostly water, fiber. Those all will help, and that's the second thing. The third thing is basically We're getting a sound system. Awesome. All right. So, does that make sense? And then you need to talk to her.
Just quickly.
Yeah.
Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you have children. All right, children. Anyone? Parents here. So, if you, first of all, I have a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old boy, and my 14-year-old, when he was about 11, was the kid that was afraid of taking his shirt off at the pool, and it broke my heart. Right? So, I put my children on program. Now, I didn't put them on the 5 and 1. We did our philosophy, the Be Slim philosophy, and we used some fuelings, but we cut out a lot of crap. So here's the way my children are today, and this will take it home for you. If you were to go up to my kids right now, my son Jeremy, and offer him a piece of pizza, real food, right? Or French fries, and he would say, no thank you. And that would shock people. So they say, why don't you want pizza? You don't eat pizza? You don't like pizza? He says, of course I like pizza. I'm 14 years old, but I don't eat it. And they say, why? And I swear, my 14-year-old will look at you and he'll say, it has no value. So listen, let me take it home. So when somebody talks to me, obviously there's a lot of different things, and like he says, you got to speak to the person. But here's what's in my heart. Those little bars, that pudding, that decadent brownie, I used to think that was diet food when I was trying to lose weight, right? But now I don't look at it as diet food, I look at it as fuel. Because it is almost impossible to eat 5-6 times a day and get all of that in your body, right? So when I look at that bar, I don't look at the calories. I don't look at the weight loss. I look at the value of what's in it. So when I frame it like that, that's what happens. Second, to what Doug was saying about starting conversations, how many people do you meet that have kids, right? I open up the conversation about how my kids live, and it's so easy for me to then translate why they're like that because of my story. And that goes everywhere because people care more about their kids than themselves.
So as coaches, there's 4 components of our program. Somebody name the first. Health coach.
Number 3.
Habits of health, health coach, fuelings, and community. So we have 4 components. So blink at me if you spend 80% of your time talking about the fuelings to a client, even in weeks 1, 2, and 3. How many have clients like I do that call you on week 2 or 3? I don't know if it's really working. I'm stuck. I've hit a plateau. The scale's not moving, right? The first question, what I used to ask was, oh my goodness, well, let's dissect your program. I said, well, let's talk about something. On Wednesday night, what did you take away from the Habits of Health call? What did you learn Wednesday night? So tell me a little bit about how chapter 1 and 2 has been going in the Habits of Health and Living a Longer, Healthier Companion Guide. And it's a little bit of, well, I haven't done it. Well, they're not doing the program. Then we'll start talking about the fuelings. You understand how the importance of our program is complete. But us as coaches, let's not let our clients pull us into the trap of just talking about the fuelings. We're complete, and it's our job to posture that. Let's take them into complete. So they say that it's not working. Well, even if they're, whoa, hot mic. I think Dallas can hear us now. But just as I close, I want to turn this over back to Dr. A. But the important thing, it's our job to not let them spend us only talk about 25% of the program because they're frustrated because even if they're following 5 and 1 to a T and they're not doing anything else, they're still only doing 25% of the program. Imagine if they actually engaged in our community, the Habits of Health, worked with us closer. And us, it's really, I don't like to call it a job, but guys, it's up to us to posture the value of all 4 components of the program, and they can take bite-sized pieces when they're ready.
Say hallelujah. Great job. So, Dan and Meg, you wanted him to hold it closer. You don't understand to it unless until 30 seconds ago, we didn't have anything. All right. So bottom line, I got to admit it's getting better, a little better all the time, right?
Yeah.
All right, who's got a great? I want great questions, and let's get back to really the essence of things that are really important, because I want to make sure your time here, especially for you guys out in the sun. Thank you for persevering. The obstacle is the way. So, Cliff.
Yeah. At least 6 months to pull the trigger on something that hopefully can change every aspect of my life. And especially in coaching with everybody. You know, we're all used to follow up fear and rejection because they're focusing on themselves. Can you talk on that from an identity standpoint?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Cliff said until 6 months ago when he decided 6 months ago, I'm sorry, his business was moving along, and 6 months ago he decided to get out of his own way, stop focusing on his identity, what people think, and move forward. He's a chiropractor, but decided, you know what, I'm not happy. Well, hello there, Marie Osmond. There's some nice desserts. Let's just eat desserts and get healthy. Well, let's crush it. Or no belly bloat. Honestly, when you know what you know now, doesn't it just crack you up? The second thing is, I'll tell you what else will crack you up. And this is going to be a hard one, because right now as I start saying this, your ego is going to start waking up and say, danger, danger, danger. But the reality is, once you move beyond yourself and you really focus on what's important for your life, for the people around you and your clients and your coaches, you start cracking up when you need to make yourself look big, right, defensive. You start saying, wait a minute, what am I doing? I'm sitting here now having to be right. I have to make sure that they know I'm smart. You don't need to do any of those things, right? First of all, most people aren't thinking about you. That's the first thing. They're not thinking about you. They're thinking about them. If we took a picture of this amazing group here and I hung it up over there and you went over and looked at it, now be honest with me, where would you be looking in the picture? For yourself, right? So we're humans. We're humans. We care. We don't necessarily care about ourselves, but we're interested in ourselves. So the bottom line, if you die, and the day of your funeral, if it starts raining, 50% of the people aren't coming. They're not coming. Oh, I really liked them, but I felt a few drops, and they're not coming to your funeral. Don't get depressed about it. Don't give a damn. Go live and build the life you want. And that means, first of all, stop focusing on what people think about you. Number one. Number two, start focusing on what are the things that really matter in your life. Not the things you see on TV, not the new lawnmower that your neighbor got, but what are the things that really are important to me? And then awaken to those things, and then put yourself on focus to do those things. Because Cliff was a chiropractor. He's got the title. And he made a decision, and 6 months ago he went full time, and he just told me the other day, he says, you know what? Not only did my life change, everything in my life changed. Everything is better. He said, he actually said like he'd been reborn. Like everything is better in his life, and he's just happier than he's ever been. He's attracting people now that he didn't do before. And I'll tell you, I was asked to be a scholar in residence for Mount St. Mary's, which is an underprivileged university for underprivileged women in LA. And they asked me to come in and design and I'm doing this pro bono for free, a $30 million wellness pavilion. And they've asked me to be their scholar in residence and to bring the habits of health in and teach it to their wellness advocates so that those women can learn the habits of health and learn to start focusing on their identity. And it's pretty exciting, and they're going to do a study which is going to be really good for us, where they're going to track their academic success. I'm going to teach them to get out of their own way, eat healthier, do all the habits of health, move more. We're going to design the campus around more movement, right? So people move and they'll be able to track that. And then we're going to do a study and progress. And this university is the #1 university in the country for taking people from a lower socioeconomic class and moving them up to give them more in their lives. Isn't that cool? And the main thing we're going to be focusing on is exactly what Cliff is talking about, is moving people beyond themselves, getting themselves out of their way. Start realizing what you think about yourself has nothing to do with the life-building process of building the life you want. And so many people beat themselves up and don't think they're worthy and think they're stupid and have all kinds of self-esteem issues. And what we want to do is take them by the hand and be there for them and always refocus them. Stop looking in at whether I'm good and bad and start looking out if am I doing the things that move me forward towards health. So that's pretty exciting, isn't it? Yeah, brother? Yeah, so she's asking for people to move forward and work on that. How do you work on that? So the main thing for you, I want to talk about this for a moment because it's really important. How many people have read, a couple years ago, I had the leaders all read 15 Commitments of a Conscious Leader. How many people have read that book? Okay. All right. So there's 3 progressive levels that we all need to think about. The first is reading, understanding. The second is being coached, for someone to help coach you. And the third is experiential, and they're progressive deeper. So I guarantee that you guys, well, I don't guarantee, but you guys mostly know now what we mean by play above the line, right? You guys know what that is? Raise your hand if you don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, so let me go through that real quick. Okay. So people think that everything in life that happens to them, they need to react to it. Remember I told you that we're all human and we have our brain and we have our mind? Our brain is designed to react at a subconscious level to everything that happens around it. In fact, if there was a snake crawling along right there, thank you. She's taking care of it. Thank you. If there was a snake right here, I would react to that snake before I thought about it. And that's programmed into our brain. So at the first level, there's things I do, and if I go through my life reacting to it, I'm going to have a very messed up life. Second thing, if you think your life in the world is supposed to be a certain way, you're going to have a very messed up life. The world is the way the world is. And is it great right now? Absolutely not. But you have to take the events of the world, how they affect you, and respond in a fashion that creates the outcome that moves you forward in your life. So, one of the things I hear, people get derailed because life happens, right? A family member gets sick, they have more work, the boss gave them an extra project. These are all things that are going to happen in your life. By the way, life and health is intrinsically unstable. You are born, and unless unfortunately there's a genetic mishap or a birth issue, but most people are born perfect, healthy. Your brain, when you're born, is these round globules, and they're actually relatively unscathed. They have just little dendritic things around them. And what happens is, over time, you program your brain, you program your choices, you program all those things to be automatic. And that includes how you behave. And if you have a low self-esteem or an ego issue, or you think you need to be right all the time, so below the line means you are closed. Wait for the plane to go by. It means you're closed. You reached a point in your life and you stop growing. And that happens to most people. They don't have a mentor. They don't have Optavia. They don't have the habits of health. They don't have the community we have. And most people get to a level, it's like, everybody knows people that they love rock and roll, right? And they sit and listen to rock and roll. They're not open to any of the music that's progressed. Now I have to tell you, I have a 20-year-old and a 17-year-old daughter. So I'm not particularly happy with some of the language that's used in music today. In fact, sometimes I go, they said what? Because it's beyond crazy. But the point being is that there are things that are happening where people just shut down and they start being in the comfort zone in every area in their life. So when something comes up, and by the way, being in the comfort zone and saying this is the way the world has to be and this is how I'm reacting to the world isn't going to create a healthy life, because the world is changing at a rapid pace. And as Doug was saying, if you're not using Facebook and you're not using social media, and maybe you don't like it, and maybe you think it's this weird thing and you think you're too stupid or too old, or I don't know what you think inside of your brain. But the point is, it is something. Social media is the thing that connects us, and in this business, don't you want to be connected to more people? So start off in baby steps, and then grab a 19-year-old, grab your kids or your grandkids, and learn one micro habit a week. I'm going to learn today how to sign in. And it might just be as easy as that. But the point is, you need to be able to change. So you cannot be closed and be successful. Second, defensive. If you're defending your position in everything you think, and you think with certainty in every conversation, you're not going to be successful. You need to inquire. You need to be curious. And the third is needing to be right. Does anybody, and if yourself, blink if you need to be right. But do you know so many people, they need to be right? Oh no, that soy is the death. It's like arsenic, it's gonna kill me. In fact, I might not make it through the day. And you know what I say to that? I didn't mean the wine in there, but basically, and so here's the thing. If you try to convince somebody that they're below the... It's been really obstacle-based this morning. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. All right. Now, I wish you get that on film. Do that. Okay. So anyway, below the line, can you hear me? Below the line, you're closed, you're defensive, and you need to be right. I have a 20-year-old daughter right now that she needs to be right. And what I need to do is diffuse that and create an openness where she's now, because I'll start talking to her and she realizes that I'm, really want to know what she's talking about. And then all that goes down, and then she gets curious, right? You want to create curiosity, and then you want to learn. So to Rhoda's point is how you continue to move forward is you're going to have a tendency to drift below the line. It's just natural. We all drift below the line. I got to tell you, when I heard that we were doing this here in 100-degree Dallas heat today, having you guys, many of you getting ready to go home and in your dress clothes, and then when I got here and we didn't have any sound system, and you guys have to be out in the sun, and all those things, I can tell you there was a little bit of me that was starting to drift. Because that's not right. But the point is, move back up, be curious. Can you hear us? Are you here? And what questions do you have? Be open to what we can do, and then seek to help you grow. That's what we do, right? And actually, I can tell you, this will never happen again. I can tell you that. But for right now, these are the circumstances we've been given, so let's thrive in it. And when the music came out and you guys started dancing, so that's what be playing above the line is, and we are really, really proud of you. Because this is not the ideal situation. One of the things I love about this is that it's kind of like in ancient Greece, they used to be up on the Acropolis, and Socrates, not that I'm that, but Socrates and Aristotle and those wise men would sit there and they would gather around people. This is actually the coolest part. And by the way, for me, I'm really, really excited about us rearranging and making sure in the conference centers that we get you guys closer and closer and closer, get everybody around the campfire, right? And that's what we want that to happen. So, okay, who has a great question? Yes. Okay, this is a great, thank goodness this question got asked. She goes, I'm not a medical person, but can I say that Optavias can reverse diabetes? And somebody back there said yes, because they had that experience in their life. So this is another teachable moment. Absolutely no, 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 no. And let me tell you why. We do not make medical claims. We do not know if it's going to do that. Now, I can tell you statistically, if someone is overweight, reaches a healthy weight, starts moving more, eats healthier, eats low glycemic, sleeps better, lowers their stress level, absolutely yes. But we cannot associate us as a brand with doing that. What you can say is what I found are people that reach a healthy weight and blah, 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 blah. Those people seem to have the opportunity. But you cannot, you put us at risk. You put every one of us at risk if you start making claims like that. It's important to know as an Optavian and as an Optavia coach that we are not in the health business. I had those physicians up there to validate that what you do is more important than what physicians do. In other words, it creates health for people. But the business of treating disease is for health professionals. It's not for us. That's not what we do. What we do is awaken people to the potential, put them on the path to optimal health and well-being, support them, give them the tools, the community, the health coach, so that they can move forward on that journey and through their daily choices, allow the body to take care of itself and reestablish itself in health and balance. That's what you can say. Okay? Thanks. Yes? He's overweight right now? Underweight right now. Yeah, okay. So, your pediatrician, okay. So, kids, when they're young, they graze, just like we were designed. They just pick all the time. They would never sit down and eat a meal, right? They're not really interested. In fact, it's hard to get, they just graze. So, to have him gain some weight and get to his healthy weight, it's great that he can graze and eat what he wants. Not eat what he wants, eat when he wants. But absolutely not. The last thing you want to do is start conditioning a kid to eat unhealthy things. So I will tell you this, you're in charge of the environment. You're the one that brings the food in the house. So yeah, I would bring in all healthy stuff, and then I would have stuff that's not unhealthy. I'd still have a frozen pizza. I'd still have a little boxed popcorn, shrimp, or whatever, it doesn't matter. I would try to move away from sugar, because sugar addiction is something that occurs, and use fruit, because the palatability, really, a candy bar versus fruit, if someone has access to a candy bar, they're going to pick the candy bar. Rats pick candy or chocolate or sugar over heroin. Over heroin. That's how powerful that addiction is. So, no, don't let him, but don't prohibit it, right? Create the environment so that he's eating, so that he starts liking grapes or apples or did I spit on you? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Actually, I think it's like something about Mary. I think it helped your hair a little bit. All right. So, you know what? You got to have a little fun. And not using the same, Anyway, yeah, that's not right. That is not right. That is not right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good. Well, when we just fit my thought is so. Here's the point. And even for you guys, and you may think this is blasphemy, but even for you guys, if you want to eat something unhealthy, eat it. Okay? Eat it. But understand that it's not a good choice. Understand, because if you avoid having that one little taste you want right now, and I'm talking about not when you're in, you need to use your discipline, your willpower, till you get into a fat burning state. And during that state on the 5 and 1, you need to basically not do that, right? And you need to do that for several reasons. The first reason being that if you do take one crouton, you can go out of a fat burning state. So it's important that you really are disciplined during that period and that you pay attention to it, because once you're in a fat burning state, it gets easy, right? It's your cravings go away and it gets easy. So I'm not talking about during the 5 and 1. But what I am talking about as you move forward towards optimal health, there's times when you just want to eat something that's not right, right? Do it. It takes 95% of your taste satisfaction is in the first 3 bites. So stop, challenge, and say, do I really need that taste? And if you do, take one piece of it and remove yourself from the resource, right? Get away from the bag or the half-gallon of ice cream or whatever else it is, right? Get away from it. Obviously, the more you keep it out of your house, the better. Because most people aren't going to get in their car unless they have a serious sugar addiction and go drive 10 miles, right? And the studies all support that. But the point is, if you want something, do it. But start making more choices. So, as you move towards eating optimally healthy, and you're fueling your body every 3 hours, just start making, like I said, decide that is a micro habit. I love apples. I started eating pears. I didn't eat pears hardly at all. They're great. Pears, apples, grapes, they're all awesome. Snacks, walnuts. Walnuts are amazing. There's amazing stuff in those. Almonds. Pick things that give you crunch, give you taste, give you flavor, and start getting used to eating those, and then you won't want those things. But if you're out at dinner or somewhere and you just feel like you want to eat something unhealthy, eat it. But don't set a day up. I mean, some of the most nonsensical stuff along with Marie Osmond and that junk they sell there is that, oh, I'm going to have my bad day, right? Sunday, my cheat day. Well, first of all, just think about saying, my cheat day. Is that how you talk as an Optivian? No. But you might say that I might actually want a bite of that, or I may want that. Do not tell the mind it cannot do that. If you do, it's done. It will find a way to get it, and it usually will come back with a vengeance. When you try to force yourself to eat healthy when you're not ready, then that's a mistake. So, in that case, just get better, right? It's about incremental improvement.
Yeah, back to the idea of value. There's so many opportunities for us to talk about what we do. So who was it that asked the question about the child that needed to gain weight? So you got to understand that most of our country lives in a reactive model, right? They focus on the problem without focusing on the cause. And that, in large part, is due to the leaders, the educators, and it's not their fault. They live in a reactive model. You know, you come in and they treat your problem. So it makes sense why they use medicine to quiet down the problem, right? Say, I have a problem. Say, oh, well, then take this. And it'll, you know, it's like putting black tape over your check engine light, but they did their job. So when it comes to nutrition, if a child needs to lose weight or gain weight, it makes sense that the leader in that reactive model will focus on the calories, right? And the lose weight. So, you know, you'll hear a pediatrician, God bless them, you know, they just aren't armed with what we know yet, might say something like, oh yeah, your child needs to gain weight. That means they all green lights. Have pizza, pasta, all those things, because they're focusing on gaining weight. So what an awesome opportunity to talk about the idea of value. See, a lot of times people don't understand you can gain and lose weight eating healthy, right? They just think more or less. So I think one of the most amazing breakthroughs that we've ever had in my time here is just this idea of a fueling. You know, a fueling isn't just our fuelings. It's an idea of fueling your body and being mindful of it. And then the last thing I'll say is, you know, when your clients will say, can I eat this? Can I eat that? Or they might say, I cheated, right? So when they say I cheated, I say, well, did you cheat or did you just make a different choice, right? And then when they say, can I eat this? Like I'll say, hey, can I take that peanut butter crunch bar and pour hot fudge over it? Or something like that. I always say, you actually can do anything that you want. But it just depends on what you're trying to accomplish. And there's another idea, there's another opportunity to get into that idea of structural tension and doing things that support what it is that you want for yourself and why.
Thank you, JC. So understand that good and bad, right and wrong, those are not what food's about. And for your child, just to finish this out, and then we'll move on. For your child, is you want to teach them habits of health. Habits of health are around eating the things that are natural, keep you full. He will adjust on his own. He's going to adjust on his own. The body will naturally, if he's hungry, he'll eat. What I'm saying is that, and by the way, if you look at the habits, I am going to brag for a minute here. And I'm going to brag because I want to make sure you guys know what you have in front of us. In 2008, when I wrote The Habits of Health, the country was being guided by the government by the food pyramid. Okay, if you look in the chapter on the plate system that I created, the visual analogs, we innovated something back then before everybody was even talking about it, and I suggested that the food pyramid was obsolete. 3 years later, the food pyramid was abandoned and they went to the plate system, okay, that we created. Second, I talked about that exercise 3 days a week does not create health for you. It's a good thing and it helps build muscle, but it does not get you healthy. It's the NEAT, right, and non-exercise activity, the NEAT system, where you focus on what you do every day that makes a difference. People thought, what are you talking about? The last 3 years, there's 27 studies that have come out that if you sit for an hour and don't get up and move, you lose 22 minutes off your life. That actually it's the movement you do throughout the day at work and leisure that makes the difference. Boom. Third thing, that what we're just talking about, in that book, I talked about feelings, and last year, 2 years ago when we started working on Optavia, I said we need to move from meal replacements to fuelings. Okay, so fuelings are a way of now thinking about that you need to fuel your body with high energy food. The higher energy food makes everything work. When you get up in the morning and you have breakfast and you have a fueling, and for me, I gotta tell you, the fuelings are absolutely essential. I am not a cooker. I can take it used to be the brownie, I still use the brownie, but I take the swirl, and I'm gonna tell you, I can really do it well. I figured out exactly how much water, and the bottom line, if the microwave is at a different place, like at a hotel or I'm up in Colorado, you have to adjust it, right? So you have to adjust the water up and down, so you have to do a test case. Sometimes you get it right, sometimes you gotta go the other way. And by the way, I'll give a full seminar on this later. And then the third thing is you mix it up. You want to make sure, because it's now round, the new ones are round, right? You have to make sure that you get all, and then when the square ones though, you have to make sure you got the good stuff out of the corner. And then you have to make sure, because if you make it too soupy, you put it in the microwave, what happens? Or it looks like you get a little muffin top, you know? So the bottom line is, what I love about that, for me, it's easy. I have a fueling. It gives me 100 calories, balanced protein and carbohydrate, all the vitamins and minerals I need. And what it does is it starts my day off with food that doesn't raise my blood sugar and start a cycle of doing this all day, right? Which I talk about in the Habits of Health. So the point I want to say to you is, what we do and what the Habits of Health does is set a program where every single choice you make in how you move, how you sleep, how you handle stress, what you eat, is all planned out in a system that works, right? A system that works. And what I'm doing in the next version is making sure I do a lot better job of helping you up here. And, thank you. You ever got it? Yes. And then the third part is make it so the installation is methodical, so we make sure we get those habits installed to you, right? All those things are critical. so that's the habit cell system, which is one of the components. Unfortunately, it's been elevated, to being one healthy habit at a time, which is great. But the point being, that's only one component. You as a coach, to Doug's point, is the second component. The community, for me, is the most important component, because you're now changing the underlying structure that the person's living in or acting in, and now they have access to all the things that are important. And then obviously the feelings are part of that. But those four things together create success, and that comes from 15 years of figuring out what works. So to Doug's point earlier, don't rely on just the nutrition. That's what people are thinking. They still think that I can do something outside of me, take a pill, use a product, have Marie Osmond with her little spandex on, not spandex, what's that called? Spanx. You know that lady's got Spanx on. I know that Spanx. It's not humanly possible. And by the way, that image that, you go like this, that's not an image of health. That's not an image of health. That's an image that creates an image so that people look at it and say, I can't do that. That is adding resistance, and it's just not right. So bottom line is what we do, we say, listen, come with me, let's hold hands, let's come into a place where people care about each other. Let's use the technology, let's use the lifestyle, we'll help you, we're not going to beat you up, and we're going to help you move forward. Awesome. Good question, you got a great question? Okay. Okay, well, I'll finish the moment because I really want general questions, and I want these guys to talk. Energy balance still is important. What we know now and what we've developed, it's interesting. Okay, well, and there's another thing from the Habits of Health. So, there used to be just energy in, energy out. And basically, in the Habits of Health, I actually follow energy as a way of kind of going through the phases, right? And in that, when we talk about energy in, we know that because of the food pyramid before, a donut had the same qualifications as an apple. I mean, it was nonsensical. But different types of food do different types of things. If you eat something that is high glycemic, and let me just spend a moment in case you haven't read the book, high glycemic means you eat it and it raises your blood sugar very high. And when your blood sugar goes up, your insulin level goes up, and then what happens is then because you had something that doesn't have a lot of substance to it, your blood sugar drops, your insulin level's still up, and you get hypoglycemic. And when your blood sugar goes down, what happens? Your brain screams that you're hungry. And it screams that I need something sweet, stat, right now. Because the brain can only last so long without its energy source. It has the highest metabolic rate of anything. That's why in 5 minutes, if your heart stops, your body isn't dead, your brain's dead, right? Because it consumes, it's so greedy. So when you do that and eat something like that, you start this cycle and you go all day. So that's why, by the way, why that cinnamon swirl or the decadent brownie or the oatmeal or shake or whatever you guys like, it starts your day off the right way, right? And it balances that. The charts in the Habits of Health, and I'm going to make that in so it's really easy in the app, right? Where you'll be able to just, when you're shopping and stuff, look at them. But the bottom line is, those things make a difference. And if you have high glycemic things that you're taking, it's going to mess you up. So you want to make sure that happens. The other thing, protein has the highest satiety. It means your body uses protein and it shuts off the signals of hunger. That's why our feelings are so powerful. They're low glycemic, they don't raise your blood sugar, and they have lots of protein in them. I mean a lot. I don't mean, because this is what happens, again, going back to the nonsense that's in the internet. They're not high protein. It's just that 100 calories has a higher percentage of protein, but the actual protein you're getting in it isn't that excessive. Does that make sense? But the protein helps your body, protects your muscle. You know, we can say that. That's in our claims. And basically that allows you to protect, because when you start losing weight, there's a tendency to lose muscle in almost anything, especially if you go into starvation mode and you're using the pineapple diet or the chocolate chip cookie diet. Someone told me there's a chocolate chip cookie. That's nice. That's really nice. So anyway, okay. Yes.
I'm a new coach. I just started in May, and I
You scared off some people?
That's your business.
By the way, Megan and Dan Valentine.
I think honestly it's this level of building trust with people, building relationship over time, and even some of those people that maybe right now you just need to stay in the friend zone with for a while, and keep just living your life out loud and allowing the program's results to speak for themselves, because we have extraordinary, predictable results, right? So as we're putting those forth and sharing the stories of so many other people, and as you're helping those that are ready, people are going to see, you know, so I would just say continue to build relationship, continue to build trust, connect authentically, and you're gonna see more open doors start to happen.
Good answer, babe. That was good. All right, so I'm going to add just a little bit to that. And remember what it is that we're doing. We're looking for people that are looking for a solution. We're not trying to convince all the people close to us to do our program, right? So the idea is, how can you get back to them? Well, are they ready? And when they are ready, I said this in my workshop, I think a lot of people, I've seen this, they've got this circle of influence around them, the people closest to them, right? And they've got hundreds and thousands of people in concentric circles out that they're not quite as close to relationship-wise. And yet instead of expending the energy to find people in the bigger circle, thousands of people that are looking for a solution, they expend their energy trying to convince all the people in that closest circle to come on plan. Okay? So the key is, along with what Megan said, I think, is when they are ready, are you going to be there? You may not have scared them off, because if they were really in a place where they were absolutely ready and they needed a solution, maybe even whatever you did wouldn't have scared them off and they would have embraced it. So be there and show them results. Let them see in your life that consistency, and let them see as you're celebrating those around you that you're helping. They're going to be on the sideline. They're going to be watching all that. And the moment they decide that they need help, you're going to be the one they're going to reach out to.
Wow, that was awesome. I just also want to say, I do the same. Okay, so, and I just went back to them and I said, you know what, I just love you, and I'm so sorry, I'm just in my exuberance, I might have been overwhelming, but I have been blessed to be able to come alongside and assist some people, and maybe it's for you, maybe it's not, and I'm so sorry if I ever insulted or anything, but I finally got something that works for me and has worked for many people I love, so please accept my apology.
Good.
Thanks, Terry. Okay. Yes.
Is there in the works a computerized system for all of what we do ourselves?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Is there in the works a
Yes.
computerized
Yes.
system?
Yes, there is.
What curriculum?
By the end of the year.
So,
By the end of the year. Yeah, by the end of the year. We should have it all done by the end of the year. Yeah. Jody?
What do you think going home now that we've made our full transition to Optavia? What do you think are some of the things that all of us here can bring back and really lead our teams with?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Jody's asking, what are the things we can do as we leave here and take back and bring to our team? I think the first thing is what we talked about just a couple minutes ago, is that we're one, right? We're one. The evolution of the business model, the health model, working with the company now is one. I mean, if you look at Optavia, you look at how it shows up. I mean, did you look how beautiful it was in the room? So what we've done is we've grown up and we've created a brand that we can be proud of. It's a brand that's gonna, you know, for those of you that just got here, that's shiny. It's like Moana. It's like the crab at the bottom of the ocean. It's like, it's shiny. It's gonna attract more people. And the way it shows up doesn't create the stigmata that maybe Take Shape for Life did with the name, or that Medifast does with the diet. Those things created more work for you. So that resistance is now going to be lower. They're going to be curious. And it's so how you use the basics that everybody just talked about to now reset. We've given you kind of like a hall pass or get out of jail free card. So now you can go back and have your coaches say that, you know what, we have this beautiful new that showed up. The principles are the same. We're still offering the same things, but we're getting better at it. And now is the time. And by the way, what I said last night is that this is for all of you, whether you just came in or you've been with us a long time. The bottom line is, and this is something that's never happened before, you've been able to go to your communities and go out and talk about Take Shape for Life, and few people had heard of it, right? And that's, you could kind of go, it's kind of like a mouse playing, a cat playing with a mouse. They can play with it, for a while before they kill it. It's a bad analogy, but the point is here, Optavia now puts us in position with a brand new wardrobe to show up to the world, where the world is going to be curious. And people are going to come on at an accelerated rate. And the people that use the system, work with their mentorship, use the components, and actually dial people in, not to their own individual way, but to the Optavia way, all using all the things, are going to grow quickly. So those crazy pastors that you have, I'm just nervous whether we're going to be able to keep enough stuff in stock, because just in their approach to know people, it's going to accelerate on it. It's going to accelerate on its own. So the message here is this: get your act together now, because right now nobody knows in your community, in your family, in everything you have exposure to through social media. No one knows what Optavia is yet, right? So you have this amazing thing that's available, this incredible opportunity, as well as ability to help people at a time when the world, 100 million people have diabetes, 211 million people in the country are overweight or obese. People aren't sleeping well, they're stressed out, they don't like their job, they don't have enough finances. Everything that's the anti of what's healthy is, we have the solution for that. All of it, all of it. But it will not always be so that the opportunity is as great as it is now. I can tell you in 5 years we'll be a multiple billion-dollar company, and we will be not showing Spanx-based old singers that had one song trying to pitch some nasty cardboard, but we will actually be a place where people will be knocking on the door to come be part of what we are.
So I know for me, like, one of the things I'm just really excited about is the 6 habits of transformational leadership. And so when I take a look at those and I really pause to kind of try to align myself with those things and see what areas I can grow in as a leader, so that is how I show up to our team, is that it's not a surprise when I begin to speak those and teach those, because I'm already living those. And as we show up as Optavia leaders using that vehicle and tool and the language of those 6 habits of transformational leadership, the culture of our teams change, and it allows them to have things to line their selves up with, to be able to show up in their worlds. Because when that is who we are, those 6 habits, wow, I mean, I think we're gonna make a huge impact. So.
Thank you, Meg. That's in fact, I'm going to take it all the way up to the highest level. Leadership determines the extent of how this brand is going to move forward, and it determines the culture. And I can tell you that it was not always so, but I sat in a meeting yesterday, presented 3 of them are right here, here. Actually, where's Doug? Is Doug still here? Doug, where's Doug? Where is he?
He's right there. Out there.
Oh, right there. Okay, Doug, JC, Dan, and Terry are all part of the leaders that I picked to represent you in our Optavia 1, which we're working closely with Dan Chard and Mona and the company. That's the quality of leaders. And those quality leaders, by the way, they didn't get on a plane and go away. They're here just like I am. We're here to serve you in any way we can. And that's the culture we're building. So I can tell you it starts with leadership and those 6 habits that Helen and I came up with. with this type of, I look at all four of these people and the way they conduct themselves, their life, and where they're moving forward. And then for our leadership one, our pursuit within Team Global, and then basically our essentials. And I highly suggest that you get on the path working with your global director and make sure you're putting yourself in position to move forward and be part of that with us. Because I can tell you the most important thing of bringing this brand alive is not the shininess, it's not the products, it's not even the habits of health. It is how we as Optavians show up to the world. And my desire is for this leadership organization and for you to show up to the world different than anybody else, so that we become this bright magnet, this bright star, this bright magnet, the North Star, to reconfigure so people can live healthy lives and have great well-being and have great relationships with their kids. As you heard those people that we recognized last night, are those people you want your kids hanging around? Yes, and that's what we do. So we're at noon. I wish I could give you all an IV and hydration on the outside, but thank you so much for staying to come here with us, and we are just so proud to have you guys. Now go out, talk to everybody in your communities, reset yourself, and go at this. Thank you guys, JC and Doug, thanks for getting this all set up. Megan and Dan, bottom line is Terry. Thank you.